Alright, in the previous I talked about consequentialism with respect, I've talked about utilitarianism, I've talked about kind of a bunch of different theories, I think, the desire theory. I haven't talked a lot about hedonism, but you know, I will. Maybe. But what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about the problems that this theory has. Because, as I've talked about before, consequentialism, you're talking about basing good and morality on outcomes. You're talking about good being in certain outcomes. You're talking about the good being based on a certain consequence. Now, when you think about morality and the idea of common sense morality, like doing good for people, you know, doing good for people, you know, and then how people do good for you sometimes. When you think about common courtesy, when you think about kindness, think about all those things that are common sense. That ethicist, you know, if someone has common sense as an ethicist, they're gonna have concerns and other people. They're gonna recognize duties and obligations to other people. They're not gonna just give a shit about themselves the whole time, you know. And I'm recognizing that consequentialism can have common sense morality. It can have You can have a consequentialist theory where the agent will end up being concerned about others. So, you know, he will have duties and obligations, but it's difficult. There has to be something based on the consequence, because consequentialism, each consequentialist agent will have their own outcome that they want. There's a desired outcome, and there's good based on that. Now, talking about the good is an obscure thing to discuss, I think, just because it's a moral property that you can't put your finger on all the time, but I am confident that the good is not based on outcomes. In a way, it is based on outcomes. It's based on. Okay, I'm a Kantian ethicist. I'm a deontological ethicist. I believe that deontology and Kantian ethics are the best way to go, because things that are concerned include yourself, others, duty, and all your duties and obligations. And what's woven into a deontological theory is a common sense morality. You're allowed to have common sense morality because you're thinking, you know, because you're thinking about duties and obligations before yourself. Let's say let's say you're a consequentialist, but you're a desire theorist. You base the good in outcomes of. You base the good on outcomes of getting your own desires, getting the things you want. Let's say I want a new snake. I want a new snake. Say hi, Peach Kid. Aww, she likes you guys. Okay, say I want a new snake. The snake costs $300. I have $500, but I have to pay rent, which is $500. I spend $300 on the snake. I get the snake. I only have $200 to pay rent. Now I want to both pay rent and I want to get the snake. So I do that. I only pay $200 on my rent, and yet I get the snake. And I'll pay the rent later in the month, but I'll be short for the month after. Is it fiscally responsible for me to use $300 for rent to buy a snake? No, it's not. Nor is it ethical. I mean, the good is in that. Or here's a better one. Let's say I hate you. I hate you. You did something terrible to me. You stole from me. Something like that. And then I come and I want to murder you. For some reason. Because I think that if one steals, they deserve murder. For something like that. So I kill you because I want to. By the value theory of desire. That would pass in a consequentialist moral theory. Think about that. Moral theory? No, it's not. It's not morality. So, okay, I'm just going to say this. In consequentialism, most of the consequentialist theories are based on hedonist ideas, desired ideas, and it's either going to be hedonist or desire, pleasure or desire, and pleasure and desire not always overlapping. But I just think when I think about morality, I think about this fabric of interactions. The way people want to be treated, the way we all want to be treated to each other. We feel like we deserve certain things from each other. We feel like we deserve kindness. You guys probably wouldn't like me very much if I called you a useless motherfucker every time I made a video. You wouldn't like that, even though we're on YouTube and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter shit anyway. You probably would not like it. You probably would not watch it anymore. For those of you who do, any right now, morality is a fabric of interactions. It's a fabric of standards. I think it's a fabric of standards that we have for interactions with each other, whether it be their family members or strangers. And this comes because we live amongst each other. And consequentialism does not pass. Now I have one more point here that consequentialism can pass when the desired outcome that the good is based on is not a hedonist or desire idea. Excuse me. If it's not this last point I have is if it's not that, it can't work. I mean, even if you have a perfectionist idea, a perfectionist value idea, where the good that outcome is, where the outcome is success or learning a skill, getting a PhD, getting something like that, scoring, making one of your goals in life, even that, learning how to cook or anything like that. Even if it's those ideas, those perfectionist ideas, it's still not morality because it's not moral. It's not moral to only consider yourself. But I mean, because any consequentialist theory except for this one thing I'm thinking about right now, any consequentialist theory except for this, you allow for murder. There's allowance for those things, for things like that, because most of them are based on utility and desire and hedonist ideas. If you're a consequentialist and you have a perfectionist idea, a desire idea, hedonist idea, anything like that, that basically the good outcome is promoting yourself in any way possible, whether it be pleasure, desire, learning a skill, making one of your goals in life, anything like that, murder, stealing, all the unlawful things are permitted, that's a red flag, I think. But there's one thing I think that if you make this thing your desired outcome, if you make that your outcome, or besides desire, because most consequentialists will make their desired outcome pleasure, desire, learning, you know, something like that. If you make that outcome into, if you think that outcome should be helping others, or if you think that the outcome should be like helping others, or dividing up your concentrations, like if that's, I don't know, it's difficult to think about. If the goal is to, say the goal is desire, you do something based on your desire to get what you want. If you make that goal the benefit of others, there's, you know, you're a little better there. But even then, I mean, before I was thinking that you could still get away with that. But even if you made that outcome the benefit of others, or the help of others, it still doesn't work. So now I'm thinking that consequentialism can't work at all, because there's no duties, there's no obligations, there's no constraints in this theory. There's pick an outcome that you want from actions. That's what the good is. You just pick that one thing that you think the good is a part of. Pick that one thing that you want to outcome from your actions, your moral actions. You pick some moral actions based on what your outcome you want is. Any way possible, there's still going to be room for murder. There's going to be leeway for all that stuff. So this is based on the way I'm understanding consequentialism, it can't work. You have to, in a moral theory, you have to have duties, obligations, and constraints, so that you can have some kind of common sense morality woven into all this. So my thesis at the current point is that consequentialism is a failure of a theory, of an ethical theory. There is a way, though. I think there's a way, though, that it can be all right if a good person is a consequentialist. A good person can be a consequentialist. But let's say this person is a desire theorist, or is a pleasure, or is a hedonist. But this person gets pleasure out of helping others. Out of, let's say the person gets pleasure out of helping people in Japan, or helping people in Haiti, helping people in Africa. Let's say this person gets pleasure from that. That would work. But this is only because of personal variance. This is a variance of a person. You can't put that in an outcome consequence-based ethical theory. It's not possible. So this, I think, is good enough evidence to show that even if you have a good person who loves to help people, you can't have a consequentialist theory, because even this person, if this good person gets pleasure out of helping others, like helping people as a doctor in Haiti or something like that, if this person gets pleasure out of that, there's still the possibility of this person definitely doing something bad. Because their ethical theory allows them to. Consequentialism is wrong, okay? And in the next series of videos, I'm going to discuss deontology, because deontology is better. Deontology is it's the shit. I think it is. It's good. It's better, and it allows for you to have concerns for yourself, while have kind of common sense morality, and it's just way better. I'll talk about it in the next video, and then I'm gonna talk about Kant more, and I'll probably talk about Ross more, W.D. Ross also.